Do y'all remember that time when Final Fantasy 16 was super profitable for Square Enix and it made them so much money they were telling all of their shareholders that this business venture has been the very best business venture that we've ever gotten into? Do y'all remember that? Well, the reason you don't remember that is because it never happened. Instead, what happened was Square Enix dabbled into exclusivity for the longest time with PlayStation, and it came back to bite them. It not only bit them, but it bit them so hard, they've run to PC. They're signaling now that they're going to make their way to the Xbox platform as soon as they possibly can. Seeing Yoshi P's statements have been very interesting, and seeing Square Enix change its policy to have a multi-platform approach is also very interesting. Now, to that, an audience member said, I don't see how they need Xbox. But they said they need Xbox. I mean, they're saying it anywhere. But anyways, it's good to have these conversations because I think it really helps us think through these issues very carefully. And they said a much lower install base, which is pretty much what they're saying about Xbox. That's the reason they think Square Enix doesn't need them. But let's go ahead and clean that up. When you say much lower install base, what do you mean? Do you mean compared to PlayStation? Well, if we compare it to PlayStation, it's about 50% or maybe 48%, depending on how you want to go. However, when you actually bring the number of this 48%, what it looks like, it's actually 27 to 30 million, depending on how you want to look at it, of console players that own the Xbox platform. If anybody says, I'm not going to take my game to 30 million possible users, they're an idiot. And we know that Square Enix is not an idiotic company 100%. Now, some things that they've done lately, like this exclusivity deal, really kind of exposed their leadership structure in the past, wanting to get in bed with PlayStation, and then seeing how God of War ran around Ragnarok on PC and started competing with Final Fantasy 16. Then there's an idiot sandwich somewhere there served to them. However, they don't necessarily carry all of that and wear it proudly because they understand that 27 million customers is actually a really big deal. Hence, when you say low install base, you must actually account for 27 million as in quote low, which if you look at even the Final Fantasy game itself, the thing only sold about 3 million copies on PlayStation. So even still, the PlayStation community were only able to get you 3 million. I think if we actually weighed the scales, perhaps the Xbox community would have been able to get you about 1 million or 1.5 million, seeing that they're 50% and they have as many Final Fantasy fans as even PlayStation itself could dream up. So this is, in my opinion, something very important that we must point out. And that 1 million copies or 1.5 extra million hypothetical copies is important for PlayStation, for Square Enix themselves. And then they said there are fewer people willing to actually buy games on the Xbox platform. Well, the same can also be said about PlayStation, seeing how when we look at the highest played games at the end of the day, these games on the PlayStation platform are the live service games. And this is one of the reasons that Square Enix's Final Fantasy, in a pool of 60 million units of PlayStation consoles sold, did not buy as many copies as they would rather have bought, say, Call of Duty, or even spend time buying microtransactions in games like Fortnite, or even currency in Grand Theft Auto 5 and Roblox and NBA 2K25 and EA Sports, college football, and MLB The Show 2024, Madden NFL 2025, Black Myth Wukong, another single player game that smacked everything around, and Xbox's Minecraft. So already, it seems like the PlayStation audience, as well as the Xbox audience, fall into this category of being less willing to actually, in quote, buy games because they're in the same boat. They're gamers like similar kinds of live service games. And so again, even the PlayStation users are not really buying these single player titles. Hence, it continues to even prove the point that Square Enix needs Xbox more than we're actually saying, because if the folk on PlayStation aren't going to buy enough, we need to find those folk on Xbox that are going to be willing to buy, and those folk on PC that are willing to buy. Else, we end up with just sitting on PlayStation where everyone is behaving like everybody else on other platforms, and we don't sell anything. I think a lot of these comments really need to go ahead and assess a lot of what's going on in the industry, because it really does help us in our conversational pieces. And then they talked about Game Pass possibly giving money to Square Enix, but we don't know anything about that, nor are we even holding our breath. And at the same time, there are other constraints. Square Enix pretty much, in a sense, did not show great, judgment in giving goodwill to their fans on other platforms. One of my audience members said, do you remember the time that they actually made Spider-Man exclusive to PlayStation in Marvel Avengers? Yeah, remember that license for Spider-Man does not belong to PlayStation, it belongs to Disney. But somewhere, somehow, they made it where a character did not come to other platforms in a game that everybody paid the same amount of. They basically money-hatted that character. This is something that I'd even forgotten, and somebody actually pointed it out here and said, now that game is no more. I mean, with, actions like that, I mean, who can even, feel sorry when a game that does not really benefit many people actually goes away and is no longer in production? So I guess, I'm not saying Spider-Man caused it to topple, but still, PlayStation was there money-hatting and giving themselves benefits while Square Enix was losing games left and right. So apparently, I think more than anything else, Square Enix is in dire need of an install base. Whether you deem them as low is not the point. In fact, they're actually a lot, and PlayStation and Xbox, is there and has enough people that will probably play these Final Fantasy games. And Square Enix is well aware of this. And this is why they're positioning themselves to actually go into the Xbox ecosystem without any issues. They know that they want to. They've been saying it, and they continue to signal it. In fact, I think the reason they signal it is simply because they understand that if they leave everything, vague, and if they don't say anything, at least that, in their capacity of saying anything, they're going to make people lose interest. Interest is the biggest way that you sell your games in a saturated market. So I know this is probably a comment that's coming from the place of trying to figure out, okay, Square Enix can really thrive on the Xbox platform. And the answer to that is yes. They know they can thrive on the platform. I mean, they understand that. It's not like we are saying that they need to come to Xbox so that they can thrive. They know that they need to come to Xbox, and we saw their sales on PlayStation. So they need another platform and another install base that can carry their games. PC, people are waiting for it to go on sale. Switch is not going to be able to carry that kind of game, or they're probably not willing to make a port for the Switch and take all that time and investment to do it. It's easier to basically pop out, just pop out an Xbox port out of, what they already have established for PC and for PlayStation, and it will be very simple for them to be able to sell it on Xbox when their agreements allow for them to. But I think it's already late for this particular game. I think going forward, they can make better choices. And if they choose to do some more exclusivity, then they choose to pretty much put their games in a situation where the player base that they're running after is on Call of Duty. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you guys so much. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.